What if the most sacred ritual was blasphemed and turned into an act of rebellion? The Black Mass isn't just a myth. It's a dark mirror reflecting humanity's deepest fears and desires. There are tales of rituals so sinister they could shatter your perception of good and evil. Shrouded in secrecy and often associated with Satanism, the Black Mass is a controversial ritual that deliberately inverts and parodies the Catholic Mass. However, this isn't just a historical oddity confined to dusty books and whispered rumors. It's a practice with alleged modern manifestations and complex psychological underpinnings that continue to fascinate and disturb. The history of the Black Mass is long and complex, evolving through different eras and cultures, leaving a trail of unanswered questions and unsettling implications. You'll discover the hidden history of the Black Mass, tracing its roots from the fringes of medieval Christianity to its alleged modern-day practices. We will uncover the inverted symbolism at the heart of the ritual, exploring its hidden meanings and the reasons for its deliberate use. By the end of this video, you'll learn about the psychological motivations that draw individuals to participate in such a controversial act, and we will uncover their desires for forbidden knowledge, power, and rebellion against established norms. This video aims to peel back the layers of myth and misinformation surrounding the Black Mass, revealing its historical context, complex symbolism, alleged modern practices, and the psychological factors that fuel its enduring allure. Understanding the Black Mass requires navigating a complex web of historical accounts, religious doctrines, and occult beliefs, all of which have contributed to the ritual's evolution and enduring appeal. By exploring these different facets of the Black Mass, we can gain a deeper understanding of the human psyche and the enduring power of transgression. Now you might dismiss the Black Mass as mere theatrics or sensationalized stories designed to shock and titillate, but its enduring presence in history and popular culture warrants a closer examination. This isn't just about a fringe ritual practiced by a select few. It's about humanity's fascination with the dark side, the allure of forbidden knowledge that promises power and enlightenment, and the eternal struggle between good and evil that shapes our beliefs and actions. Many have heard stories of secret societies or blasphemous rituals, but few truly understand the Black Mass or the complex reasoning behind its practice, as it is frequently misrepresented and misunderstood. Let's begin by delving into the historical origins of this dark and enigmatic ritual. But to truly understand the Black Mass, we must journey back in time to the crucible of religious and social upheaval from which it emerged. Prepare to confront not just historical events, but the unsettling echoes of human desire, fear, and rebellion that resonate even today. This is a story of inverted faith and forbidden practices, where the line between sacred and profane blurs, and the very foundations of belief are challenged. The Black Mass finds its roots in the tumultuous landscape of the Middle Ages and the Renaissance, a period marked by intense religious fervor and equally intense social unrest. This was a time when the Catholic Church held immense power, dictating not only spiritual life, but also political and social norms. However, beneath the surface of religious conformity simmered currents of dissent and heresy. Heretical movements like the Cathars and Waldensians, with their alternative interpretations of Christian doctrine, directly challenged the Church's authority, offering a dangerous new path to faith. These groups, often persecuted and driven underground, fostered an environment of questioning and rebellion that would later contribute to the emergence of the Masque Mass. Were these simply misguided souls, or did they hold a key to understanding the spiritual undercurrents that the Church sought to suppress? The seeds of dissent were sown, watered by the blood of martyrs and the whispers of forbidden knowledge. The rise of witchcraft accusations further fueled the atmosphere of fear and paranoia. The infamous witch hunts targeted primarily women, accusing them of consorting with the devil and engaging in malevolent magic. This persecution created a climate of suspicion and distrust, where individuals could be denounced and condemned based on flimsy evidence and religious hysteria. Works like the Malleus Maleficarum, or Hammer of Witches, provided a horrifying justification for these hunts, demonizing those accused and prescribing brutal methods of interrogation and execution. But what if some of those accused of witchcraft were not simply victims of religious zealotry, but practitioners of darker, more subversive rites? What if the Black Mass offered a forbidden outlet for those branded as heretics and outcasts, a way to reclaim power in a world that sought to destroy them? The accusations themselves, fueled by fear and ignorance, may have inadvertently contributed to the very phenomenon they sought to eradicate. Furthermore, the Black Death and other calamitous events of the era shook the faith of many. The sheer scale of death and suffering challenged the prevailing belief in a benevolent God, leading some to question the Church's teachings and seek alternative spiritual paths. Facing unimaginable loss and devastation, people began to doubt the promises of salvation and the authority of the Church. It was a time of profound spiritual crisis, where old certainties crumbled and new, often darker, beliefs began to take root. This period of widespread despair and questioning created fertile ground for the Black Mass, offering a ritualistic means of expressing anger, frustration, and disillusionment with a seemingly uncaring God. Could the Black Mass have been, in part, a desperate attempt to find meaning in a world seemingly abandoned by divine grace? So, what exactly is this ritual that emerged from the shadows of religious upheaval? The Black Mass can be defined as a ritualistic inversion and parody of the Catholic Mass, the central act of worship in the Christian faith. It takes the sacred elements of the Mass, the prayers, gestures, and symbols, and deliberately distorts and desecrates them. In doing so, the Black Mass represents a profound act of transgression, a rejection of religious authority, and a defiant embrace of the profane. Key elements often include the use of inverted symbols, such as the upside-down cross, a symbol meant to mock the sacrifice of Christ. Blasphemous language is common, with prayers and hymns twisted into obscene parodies. The desecration of sacred objects, such as the Eucharist, the consecrated bread believed to be the body of Christ, is also frequently reported. Some accounts even describe the use of a naked woman as an altar, further emphasizing the inversion of traditional religious norms. This systematic desecration of the sacred is at the heart of the Black Mass, representing a deliberate assault on the foundations of religious belief. The purpose of the Black Mass is multifaceted, varying depending on the motivations and beliefs of those involved. For some, it serves as a form of rebellion against religious authority, a defiant act of defiance against what they perceive as an oppressive and hypocritical institution. For others, it is a means of seeking power, a way to tap into dark forces and manipulate reality through ritual magic. Still others may view it as a way to express forbidden desires, indulging in acts of sexual transgression and blasphemy as a form of liberation from religious constraints. It's important to also address the common misconceptions surrounding Black Mass, while often associated with Satanism or devil worship. This is not always the case. Some practitioners may view the ritual as a form of personal empowerment or spiritual exploration, rather than an act of devotion to a specific demonic entity. The Black Mass, therefore, is not a monolithic phenomenon, but a complex and multifaceted ritual with diverse motivations and interpretations. It's a distortion of the Catholic Mass, but with very different intentions. Historical accounts of alleged Black Mass practices are often found in trial records, confessions extracted during witch hunts, and other primary sources from the period. While these accounts must be approached with caution, given the circumstances under which they were obtained, they offer a glimpse into the practices and beliefs associated with the ritual. Consider the case of Catherine Monvoisin, better known as La Voisin, a central figure in the affair of the poisons during the reign of Louis Xiv. La Voisin was accused of organizing Black Masses for for members of the French court, allegedly involving human sacrifice and the use of consecrated hosts in love potions. While the veracity of these claims remains debated, they illustrate the sensational and often lurid nature of the accusations es masse. Ending the Black Mass. Specific examples of inverted symbols used in the Black Mass include the aforementioned upside-down cross, as well as the use of black candles instead of white, and the recitation of prayers backwards. The desecration of the Eucharist often involved trampling upon the consecrated bread or using it in perverse rituals. These inverted symbols were not merely random acts of vandalism, but deliberate attempts to subvert the meaning and power of Christian symbols. Literary and artistic depictions of the Black Mass offer further insights into the cultural fascination with this dark ritual. Joris Karl Huysman's novel, La Base, provides a vivid and disturbing portrayal of a Black Mass, complete with detailed descriptions of the blasphemous rituals and the psychological motivations of the participants. These fictionalized accounts, while not necessarily accurate representations of actual practices, reflect the anxieties and fascinations of the time, capturing the allure and the horror mass associated with the Black Mass, but what drove individuals to participate in such acts of blasphemy and transgression. Was it a genuine desire to commune with dark forces, or a more complex interplay of psychological and social factors? The motivations behind participation are as murky as the rituals themselves. The motivations of those who participated in the Black Mass are complex and varied. Some were driven by a desire for power, seeking to manipulate supernatural forces to achieve personal gain. Others were motivated by rebellion, expressing their defiance against the church and the established social order. Still others were driven by forbidden knowledge, seeking to unlock secrets and explore the darker aspects of human existence. The symbolism of the Black Mass can be interpreted on multiple levels. Psychologically, it represents a rejection of societal norms and a liberation from guilt and repression. Socially, it reflects the tensions and power struggles between the church and its detractors. Spiritually, it signifies a search for alternative forms of transcendence, a rejection of traditional religious pathways in favor of darker, more transgressive experiences. The Black Mass is not just about inverting religious symbols, it is about inverting the entire structure of belief and challenging the very foundations of morality. Now, it's important to acknowledge that the historicity of many alleged Black Mass practices is debated among scholars. Some historians argue that many accounts were exaggerated or fabricated for political purposes, used to discredit enemies or justify religious persecution. Alternative interpretations of the evidence suggest that some alleged Black Masses may have been nothing more than rumors or fantasies fueled by religious hysteria. It's also important to understand that the Black Mass is not a monolithic phenomenon. Its practices and beliefs have varied across time and place, reflecting the diverse cultural and religious contexts in which it has emerged. What one group considered a Black Mass might have been viewed differently by another. Therefore, when we talk about the Black Mass, we are referring to a diverse range of practices and beliefs rather than a single, unified ritual. Despite these debates and uncertainties, the Black Mass holds historical significance as a reflection of religious and social tensions. It highlights the enduring human fascination with the dark side, the allure of forbidden knowledge, and the eternal struggle between good and evil. It serves as a stark reminder of the dangers of religious extremism and the importance of critical thinking. In essence, the Black Mass is a mirror reflecting humanity's deepest fears and desires, its longing for power, and its unending quest for meaning in a world often shrouded in darkness. But what happens when the Black Mass moves from the shadows of history to the modern world? But what happens when the Black Mass moves from the shadows of history to the modern world? The answer is complex and unsettling. As we transition from historical accounts to alleged modern manifestations of the Black Mass, we must acknowledge the shift in context and potential changes in practice, separating fact from sensationalism, while also hinting at the darker psychological undercurrents that may fuel its modern appeal. For in the modern era, this ritual takes on new forms, shaped by contemporary anxieties, technologies, and spiritual yearnings. To understand the modern Black Mass, we must briefly trace the evolution of occultism and Satanism in the 19th and 20th centuries, noting key figures and movements that influenced modern practices. The late 19th century saw a resurgence of interest in the occult, fueled by figures like Eliphas Levi and Aleister Crowley. Levi, a French occultist, sought to synthesize ancient wisdom traditions with modern philosophy, while Crowley, an English ceremonial magician, developed his own system of magic known as the lemma, which emphasized individual will and transgression. These figures, with their emphasis on esoteric knowledge and ritual practice, laid the groundwork for the modern occult revival. The rise of LaVeyan Satanism in the 1960s marked a turning point, offering a formalized system of belief that celebrated the ego, rejected traditional morality, and embraced indulgence. Anton LaVey, founder of the Church of Satan, presented Satan not as a deity to be worshipped, but as a symbol of individualism, rebellion, and earthly gratification. But what role did figures like Levi, Crowley, and LaVey play in shaping the modern Black Mass, and how did their ideas influence its practices and interpretations? The counterculture movement of the 1960s and its embrace of rebellion, transgression, and alternative spiritualities also played a significant role. The decade was marked by widespread social and political upheaval as young people challenged traditional norms and sought new forms of expression. This spirit of rebellion extended to the realm of spirituality, as many rejected organized religion and embraced alternative belief systems, from Eastern mysticism to paganism and witchcraft. The Black Mass, with its inherent transgression and defiance of religious authority, resonated with this countercultural ethos. The very act of inverting sacred symbols and rituals became a powerful statement of rebellion against a perceived oppressive system. Was the Black Mass in the 1960s simply a form of shock value, or did it represent a deeper spiritual and cultural shift? The rise of the internet and social media has further transformed the landscape of the Black Mass, disseminating information and connecting individuals with similar interests. The internet has made information about the Black Mass more accessible than ever before, with websites, forums, and social media groups dedicated to its discussion and practice. This has allowed individuals from around the world to connect with one another, share their experiences, and learn about different interpretations of the ritual. However, it has also contributed to the spread of misinformation and sensationalism, making it difficult to separate fact from fiction. The anonymity of the internet has also made it easier for individuals to engage in Black Mass practices in secret, without fear of exposure or judgment. Has the internet democratized the Black Mass, or has it simply amplified its darker aspects? The modern Black Mass can be defined as a ritualistic expression of rebellion, transgression, or spiritual seeking, often incorporating elements of Satanism, paganism, or other alternative belief systems. While the core elements of inversion, blasphemy, and desecration remain, the modern Black Mass takes on diverse forms, reflecting the individual beliefs and intentions of its practitioners. Some modern Black Masses are explicitly satanic, involving invocations of demonic entities and the worship of Satan as a deity. Others are more symbolic, using the ritual as a means of expressing rebellion against religious authority or exploring taboo subjects. Still others are deeply personal, serving as a form of spiritual awakening or self-discovery. Is the modern Black Mass a unified phenomenon, or is it a collection of disparate practices united only by their shared transgression? Key components of a modern Black Mass include the use of inverted symbols, blasphemous language, ritualistic acts, and the potential involvement of sexual or violent elements. Inverted symbols, such as the upside-down cross, the pentagram, and the sigil of Lucifer, remain central to the ritual, representing a rejection of traditional religious authority. Blasphemous language, including parodies of prayers, hymns, and scripture, is used to further desecrate the sacred and challenge religious norms. Ritualistic acts, such as the consumption of consecrated hosts, the performance of sexual acts, and the use of blood, are sometimes incorporated to intensify the experience and express forbidden desires. However, it's important to note that the involvement of sexual or violent elements is not universal, and many modern black masses are purely symbolic in nature. What determines whether a modern black mass involves such elements, and what are the psychological implications of their inclusion? Let's address common misconceptions about the modern black mass, clarifying that it is not always associated with devil worship or criminal activity. While some modern black masses are explicitly satanic and involve the worship of demonic entities, many are not. Some practitioners view the ritual as a form of personal empowerment or spiritual exploration, rather than an act of devotion to a specific demonic entity. Additionally, the black mass is often conflated with criminal activity, such as human sacrifice or ritual abuse. While there have been isolated cases of individuals or groups engaging in such acts under the guise of the black mass, these are the exception rather than the rule. The vast majority of modern black masses are symbolic in nature and do not involve any form of criminal activity. What motivates the persistent association of the black mass with devil worship and criminal activity, and what are the consequences of this association? Alleged accounts of modern black mass practices can be found in news reports, documentaries, personal testimonies, and online sources. In 2014, a black mass was held at Harvard University, sparking widespread controversy and condemnation from religious groups. The event, organized by the Harvard Extension Cultural Studies Club, involved the performance of a ritual-based Mass, Torrical accounts of the Black Mass. While the organizers claimed that the event was intended for educational purposes, critics argued that it was a blatant act of blasphemy and hate speech. Documentaries such as The Black Mass, a satanic ritual, offer a glimpse into the practices and beliefs of modern Satanists, including their involvement in Black Mass rituals. While these accounts offer valuable insights into the modern Black Mass, they must be approached with caution, given the potential for sensationalism and bias. How can we distinguish between credible accounts of modern Black Mass practices and those that are simply fabricated or exaggerated? Depictions of the Black Mass in modern media, such as films, novels, and video games, have significantly influenced public perception. Films like Rosemary's Baby and The Devil Rides Out have popularized the image of the Black Mass as a dark and sinister ritual involving devil worship and human sacrifice. Novels such as Dennis Wheatley's To the Devil, a Daughter and Chelsea Quinn Yarborough's Saint Germain series have further explored the themes of the Black Mass and its connection to occult power. Video games such as Lucius and Agony have depicted the Black Mass in graphic and disturbing detail, often emphasizing its sexual and violent elements. How do these media portrayals shape our understanding of the Black Mass, and what are the ethical implications of their often sensational and exploitative depictions? The psychological motivations behind modern participation in the Black Mass are complex, often driven by desires for power, rebellion, transgression, or spiritual awakening. For some, the Black Mass offers a means of challenging authority, expressing dissent, or exploring taboo subjects. By inverting sacred symbols and rituals, participants can symbolically dismantle the established order and assert their individual autonomy. For others, the Black Mass represents a search for spiritual awakening, a rejection of traditional religious pathways in favor of darker, more transgressive experiences. By confronting the forbidden and embracing the profane, participants may seek to unlock hidden aspects of themselves and gain access to alternative states of consciousness. What is the allure of transgression, and how does it relate to the human desire for spiritual exploration? The symbolism of the modern Black Mass holds deep psychological and social significance in contemporary society. The inverted cross, for example, can be interpreted as a symbol of defiance against religious authority, a rejection of traditional morality, or a celebration of the individual will. The desecration of sacred objects, such as the Eucharist, can be seen as a means of challenging religious dogma, expressing anger or frustration with organized religion, or reclaiming power from a perceived oppressive institution. The blasphemous language used in the ritual can be interpreted as a form of catharsis, allowing participants to express forbidden thoughts and emotions without fear of judgment. How does the symbolism of the modern Black Mass reflect the anxieties, desires, and aspirations of contemporary society? The relationship between the modern Black Mass and broader cultural trends, such as the decline of traditional religion, the rise of individualism, and the increasing acceptance of alternative lifestyles, is complex and multifaceted. As traditional religious institutions lose their grip on society, many individuals are seeking alternative forms of spirituality and meaning. The Black Mass, with its emphasis on individual will and transgression, offers a seductive alternative to the perceived constraints of organized religion. The rise of individualism has further fueled the appeal of the Black Mass, as individuals seek to assert their autonomy and challenge traditional norms. The increasing acceptance of alternative lifestyles has also created a more tolerant environment for the practice of the Black Mass, as individuals are less likely to face social stigma or legal repercussions for their beliefs. But is the rise of the modern Black Mass a symptom of spiritual malaise, or is it a sign of a healthy society that embraces diversity and challenges tradition? While we've explored alleged modern instances of the Black Mass, there is skepticism surrounding these accounts. The lack of reliable evidence and the potential for exaggeration or fabrication must be considered. Many alleged Black Mass practices may simply be forms of performance art or social commentary, designed to shock or provoke rather than to engage in genuine ritual activity. Alternative interpretations of the evidence suggest that some individuals or groups may be using the Black Mass as a form of attention-seeking behavior or as a means of promoting their own agendas. What criteria can we use to evaluate the credibility of alleged modern Black Mass practices, and how can we guard against misinformation and sensationalism? The modern Black Mass is not a monolithic phenomenon. Its practices and beliefs vary widely depending on the individuals or groups involved. Some modern Black Masses are highly structured and formalized, following specific rituals and traditions passed down through generations. Others are more improvisational, adapting elements from different belief systems to create a unique and personal experience. What factors contribute to the diversity of modern Black Mass practices, and how do these practices reflect the individual beliefs and intentions of their practitioners? Despite debates and uncertainties, the Black Mass remains significant as a reflection of human psychology and cultural anxieties in the modern world. As a form of rebellion, it allows individuals to challenge authority and express dissent against perceived oppressive systems. As a quest for power, it offers a means of manipulating supernatural forces and achieving personal gain. As a form of spiritual exploration, it provides a pathway to alternative states of consciousness and forbidden knowledge. Whether seen as a dangerous perversion or a legitimate form of spiritual expression, the modern Black Mass continues to fascinate and disturb, revealing the enduring human fascination with the dark side, the allure of forbidden knowledge, and the eternal struggle between good and evil. Negative consequences inevitably arise when this fascination turns into obsession. But what are the true ethical implications of inverting the sacred, and where do we draw the line between transgression and harm? But what are the true ethical implications of inverting the sacred, and where do we draw the line between transgression and harm? This leads us to the ethical quandaries surrounding the Black Mass, a shift from descriptive analysis to evaluative judgment. The focus now is to explore the complex ethical and moral issues raised by the ritual, such as freedom of expression, religious tolerance, and the potential for harm, particularly in modern contexts. What happens when the right to shock and offend clashes with the right to practice one's faith without fear of ridicule? We must prepare to navigate the conflicting values and the difficulty of drawing clear ethical lines in this highly charged territory. Throughout history, societies have grappled with the thorny issues of blasphemy, heresy, and freedom of expression, with key legal and philosophical milestones shaping our understanding of these concepts. From the trial of Socrates for corrupting the youth of Athens to the persecution of early Christians for their refusal to worship Roman gods, history is replete with examples of individuals and groups facing censure, imprisonment, or even death for expressing dissenting views. The advent of the printing press in the 15th century further amplified these debates, as radical ideas could now be disseminated more widely than ever before, challenging established authorities and prompting fierce reactions. Since the Enlightenment, philosophers like John Locke and Voltaire championed the cause of religious tolerance and freedom of speech, arguing that individuals should be free to express their beliefs without fear of government interference. This historical backdrop is crucial for understanding the complexities of the ethical issues surrounding the Black Mass, particularly in an age of increasing cultural and religious diversity. Was the concept of freedom of expression always seen as a core tenet for society as it is today? The evolution of ethical and moral frameworks in Western societies has shifted dramatically, moving from predominantly religious doctrines to secular humanism and postmodern ethics, each off-mass, different perspectives on the Black Mass. For centuries, religious doctrines provided the primary framework for ethical decision-making, with concepts such as divine law, sin, and redemption shaping moral norms and social values. However, the Enlightenment ushered in a new era of secular humanism, emphasizing reason, individual autonomy, and the pursuit of human flourishing as the basis for ethical conduct. Philosophers like Immanuel Kant argued that morality should be based on universal principles of reason rather than religious dogma. In more recent times, postmodern ethics has challenged the very notion of universal moral principles, emphasizing the relativity of values and the importance of individual interpretation. How can we apply these diverse ethical frameworks to the Black Mass, a ritual that deliberately inverts and parodies religious symbols and beliefs? Several key ethical principles are relevant to the Black Mass, and understanding them is crucial. Freedom of expression, religious tolerance, the harm principle, and the concept of sacrilege. Freedom of expression, a cornerstone of liberal democracies, protects the right of individuals to express their thoughts, ideas, and beliefs without fear of censorship or reprisal. Religious tolerance, a related principle, calls for respect and acceptance of diverse religious beliefs and practices, even those that may differ from one's own. The harm principle, articulated by John Stuart Mill, holds that individuals should be free to do as they please, as long as they do not harm others. Sacrilege, on the other hand, refers to the violation or desecration of something sacred or holy. But how do these principles interact when applied to the Black Mass, particularly in the context of inverting or parodying sacred symbols and beliefs? These principles often collide when applied to the Black Mass, and it is here that we see many nuanced arguments for and against its practice. Inverting or parodying sacred symbols and beliefs, while protected under freedom of expression, can be deeply offensive to religious believers, raising questions about the limits of tolerance. Is it ethically permissible to deliberately mock or insult someone's deeply held beliefs, even if doing so does not cause direct physical harm. The ethical implications of consent are also crucial, particularly in rituals that may involve vulnerable individuals or potentially harmful practices. Can someone truly consent to participate in a ritual that involves the desecration of religious symbols or the performance of sexual acts? The ethical challenges lie in balancing individual freedoms with the need to protect societal values and prevent harm. How do we strike a balance between protecting freedom of expression and preventing the incitement of hatred or violence? Legal cases and controversies involving the Black Mass have often revolved around issues of freedom of expression, religious discrimination, and hate speech, presenting a complex tapestry of ethical and legal considerations. In 2014, the planned Black Mass at Harvard University ignited a firestorm of controversy, with religious groups and community leaders condemning the event as a blatant act of blasphemy and hate speech. While the organizers defended the event as an exercise in academic freedom and artistic expression, critics argued that it was a deliberate attempt to insult and denigrate Catholicism. Similar controversies have erupted in other contexts, such as protests against the display of religious symbols on public property or debates over the content of religious broadcasts. But are these events simply exercises of free speech, or do they cross the line into religious discrimination or hate speech? Instances of the Black Mass being used to challenge authority, express dissent, or promote social change also present ethical justifications for such actions. Throughout history, marginalized groups and dissenting voices have used various forms of symbolic protest to challenge oppressive systems and advocate for social change. The Black Mass, with its inherent transgression and defiance of religious authority, can be seen as a form of symbolic protest against perceived injustices or inequalities. For example, feminist groups have used the Black Mass to challenge patriarchal religious doctrines and advocate for gender equality. Anti-establishment groups have employed the ritual to express their contempt for political elites and corporate power. But is it ethically justifiable to use the Black Mass to mock, insult, or denigrate religious beliefs, even if doing so serves a broader social or political purpose? However, the ethical implications shift dramatically when the Black Mass is used to mock, insult, or denigrate religious beliefs, raising concerns about the potential for causing offense and inciting hatred. Religious beliefs are often deeply personal and central to an individual's identity and sense of meaning, and deliberately mocking or insulting those beliefs can cause profound emotional distress. Furthermore, such actions can contribute to a climate of intolerance and hostility, potentially inciting violence or discrimination against religious groups. The question then becomes, is there a limit to freedom of expression when it comes to religious beliefs? And if so, where should that line be drawn? In the most troubling scenarios, the Black Mass has been linked to harmful or illegal activities, such as animal abuse, sexual assault, or incitement to violence, demanding a careful assessment of the ethical responsibility of participants and organizers. While the vast majority of Black Mass practices are symbolic in nature and do not involve any form of criminal activity, there have been isolated cases of individuals or groups engaging in harmful or illegal acts under the guise of the ritual. For instance, there have been reports of animal sacrifices, sexual assaults, and even murders being committed in connection with Black Mass rituals. Such acts are unequivocally unethical and illegal, and those who perpetrate them should be held accountable to the fullest extent of the law. But what about the ethical responsibility of participants and organizers who may not be directly involved in such acts, but who contribute to a climate of transgression and disrespect that may encourage or condone them? Take, for example, the case of a rogue satanic group that used the Black Mass as a cover for engaging in ritual abuse and animal sacrifice. While the group's leader was eventually prosecuted and convicted of multiple felonies, The case raised troubling questions about the ethical responsibility of other members who may have been aware of the abuse, but failed to report it to authorities. Should these individuals be held morally accountable for their complicity, even if they did not directly participate in the harmful acts? This is where the line between freedom of expression and criminal behavior becomes blurred, and ethical considerations become paramount. The ethical arguments surrounding the Black Mass often boil down to a weighing of competing values: freedom of expression, religious tolerance, and the prevention of harm. Proponents of the Black Mass argue that it is a legitimate form of artistic expression, political protest, or spiritual exploration, protected under the principle of freedom of expression. Religious believers, on the other hand, argue that the Black Mass is a sacrilegious and offensive act that violates their right to religious freedom and causes them emotional distress. A broader interpretation suggests that the symbolism of the Black Mass can challenge moral norms, promote critical thinking, or, conversely, reinforce harmful stereotypes. What role do personal beliefs, cultural background, and group dynamics play in shaping ethical judgments about the Black Mass? Cultural appropriation adds yet another layer of ethical complexity, particularly when the Black Mass incorporates elements of indigenous or marginalized religious traditions without proper respect or understanding. The Black Mass often draws upon symbols, rituals, and beliefs from various religious traditions, including Christianity, paganism, and indigenous spiritual practices. However, when these elements are incorporated without proper understanding or respect, it can be seen as a form of cultural appropriation, perpetuating harmful stereotypes and undermining the integrity of the original traditions. What ethical responsibilities do practitioners of the Black Mass have to ensure that they are not engaging in cultural appropriation or causing harm to marginalized communities? Is there such a thing as ethical appropriation in the context of art? Consider a scenario where a Black Mass is used as a form of art or social commentary. Is it inherently unethical? Is the intent of the artist and the context in which the Black Mass is performed relevant to determining its ethical standing? What if the artist is a member of a marginalized group using the Black Mass to critique dominant power structures? These are questions that must be asked when evaluating the ethics involved. However, not everyone agrees on these ethical standards, given the subjective nature of ethical judgments and the varying moral values and beliefs held by different individuals and groups. What one person considers to be a harmless exercise in free expression, another may view as a deeply offensive act of sacrilege. This is not to say that all ethical judgments are equally valid or that there are no objective standards of right and wrong. However, it does highlight the importance of recognizing the subjective nature of ethical decision-making and the need for open dialogue and mutual respect. Does the intention behind the act change the ethical interpretation? Furthermore, applying universal ethical principles to specific cultural contexts can be challenging, particularly in societies with diverse religious and philosophical traditions. What may be considered ethically acceptable in one culture may be viewed as deeply immoral in another. This raises questions about the universality of ethical principles and the need for cultural sensitivity when making ethical judgments. In societies with diverse religious and philosophical traditions, it is crucial to engage in cross-cultural dialogue and seek to understand different perspectives on ethical issues. Are there any universal ethical principles that can be applied to the Black Mass, regardless of cultural context? The ethical implications of the Black Mass often hinge on the intent and context of the ritual, as well as the specific individuals or groups involved. A Black Mass performed as a form of artistic expression or political protest may be viewed differently from a Black Mass performed as an act of devil worship or incitement to violence. Similarly, the ethical responsibility of participants may vary depending on their level of involvement and their awareness of any harmful or illegal activities. A person's mass, NT, can dictate the ramifications of a black mass. It is possible that some forms of the black mass may be ethically justifiable as a form of artistic expression, political protest, or spiritual exploration, while others may be ethically problematic due to their potential for harm or offense. Is it possible to distinguish between these different forms of the black mass, and if so, what criteria should be used to make that distinction? How much does context and social positionality determine how ethical a black mass is? The concept of reverse discourse, the reclamation of derogatory terms to remove the negative connotations, should also be considered. Despite these complexities and nuances, engaging in ethical reflection about the black mass is crucial, recognizing its potential to challenge moral norms, provoke critical thinking, and raise important questions about freedom, tolerance, and responsibility. A rush to judgment helps no one. The key ethical arguments and considerations associated with the ritual force us to consider competing values and avoid simplistic judgments. Ultimately, the ethical implications of the black mass extend to themes of human agency, moral responsibility, and the ongoing struggle to create a just and compassionate society. The question then becomes, so, after exploring the history, manifestations, and ethical implications, what does the black mass truly tell us about ourselves and the shadows we carry within? What truths lie hidden behind the veil of transgression, waiting to be uncovered in the final analysis? Now we transition from the complex ethical and moral implications of the black mass to an even deeper, more personal realm, the psychological motivations that compel individuals to participate in such rituals. While ethical judgments often remain subjective, varying across cultures and personal beliefs, the human psyche offers a landscape of desires, needs, and conflicts. Mass can shed light on the enduring allure of the black mass. This section will explore the underlying psychological currents, such as rebellion, the pursuit of power, the thrill of transgression, and even a distorted form of spiritual seeking that may contribute to this fascination. Could the black mass serve as a dangerous mirror reflecting our innermost selves, and what destructive or transformative psychological forces are truly at play? To understand the psychological dimensions of the black mass, it's important to briefly trace the historical development of psychology and its relationship to religion, for these fields have long danced on the edge of human understanding. Key figures like Sigmund Freud, with his exploration of the unconscious mind and the interpretation of dreams, and Carl Jung, who delved into archetypes and the collective unconscious, have profoundly shaped our understanding of the darker aspects of human nature. Depth psychology, with its focus on the hidden layers of the psyche, provided a framework for analyzing extreme behaviors and unconventional belief systems, paving the way for understanding the motivations that drive individuals to explore forbidden territories, both within themselves and in the external world. But where did the idea of the human mind come from, and how do people's reasons differ when participating in the ritual? Over time, psychological theories about the nature of evil, transgression, and the shadow self have evolved, further enriching our understanding of the human condition, and these EPs offer valuable insights into the appeal of the black mass. The shadow self, representing the unconscious aspects of personality that are often repressed or denied, has become a central concept in understanding the motivations behind transgressive behaviors. Furthermore, the influence of social and cultural factors on individual psychology cannot be overstated. Religious upbringing, social norms, and exposure to violence or trauma can all shape an individual's beliefs, desires, and motivations, potentially leading them down unconventional paths. What is considered taboo in one culture might be celebrated in another, and how does this relativism affect the psychological pull of the black mass? To dissect the appeal of the black mass, we must define key psychological concepts. The shadow self, as we've mentioned, represents the unconscious aspects of personality, the repressed desires and instincts that society deems unacceptable. The libido, the psychic energy associated with desire and pleasure, also plays a crucial role, often finding expression in unexpected or transgressive ways. In Freudian theory, the id, ego, and superego, the primal drives, the rational self, and the internalized moral compass constantly vie for dominance, creating internal conflicts that can manifest in external behaviors. Concepts like repression, pushing unwanted thoughts into the unconscious, projection, attributing one's own feelings to others, and sublimation, channeling unacceptable impulses into socially acceptable behaviors, are also essential for understanding how individuals cope with these inner conflicts. How do these psychological concepts translate into the allure of the Black Mass, and why might the ritual provide an outlet for these forces? These concepts relate directly to the allure of the Black Mass, suggesting that the ritual may provide an outlet for expressing or confronting repressed desires, challenging societal norms, or exploring the darker aspects of the self. For some, the Black Mass may represent a rebellion against religious authority, a rejection of dogma and tradition in favor of personal autonomy and self-expression. For others, the ritual may offer a sense of power and control, a chance to subvert expectations and violate taboos, reclaiming agency over their own lives. Consider the psychological dynamics of rebellion, power, sexual repression, and transgression. These motivations can drive individuals to seek out experiences that challenge authority, subvert expectations, or violate taboos. Does the Black Mass serve as a means of self-discovery, a path to individuation through confronting one's shadow? It is crucial to address common misconceptions about the psychology of Black Mass participants. They are not necessarily mentally ill or inherently evil, but rather individuals who may be seeking meaning, validation, or self-expression through unconventional means. They might be intellectuals seeking gnosis, or the forsaken seeking community, and not people deserving of condemnation. Their motivations are complex and multifaceted, shaped by a unique combination of personal experiences, beliefs, and desires. Could it be that the Black Mass attracts those who feel alienated from mainstream society, offering them a sense of belonging and purpose? Consider the Marquis de Sade, a historical figure who challenged religious authority and expressed unconventional sexual desires. De Sade's writings, which often depicted acts of violence and transgression, can be interpreted as an exploration of the darker aspects of human nature and a rebellion against societal norms. His philosophy of enlightened self-interest and his rejection of traditional morality could be seen as precursor to some of the psychological motivations behind the Black Mass. Cults and charismatic leaders also play a role. These dynamics may attract individuals to the Black Mass or other fringe religious practices by reinforcing specific beliefs and values and creating a sense of group belonging. What is the relationship between the follower and the leader, and what needs are being met? The psychological effects of ritualistic behavior can be powerful. Rituals can induce altered states of consciousness, heighten emotional experiences, and create a sense of group belonging. The Black Mass, with its dramatic symbolism, structured format, and communal participation, can be particularly effective in shaping individual beliefs and values. Examine how mass, logical defense mechanisms are at play within participants of the Black Mass. Rebellion might serve as a way to cope with a strict upbringing, transgression as a means to feel powerful, or spiritual seeking as a way to find meaning in a chaotic world. And what of authority figures abusing their power to appeal to the id of their congregation and create sexual situations? Does the promise of forbidden experiences cloud judgment, making individuals more susceptible to manipulation? These psychological factors contribute to the appeal of the Black Mass by providing an outlet for repressed desires, a challenge to authority, a sense of power and control, and a search for meaning in a chaotic world. The symbolism of the Black Mass can be interpreted from a psychological perspective as representing inner conflicts, repressed emotions, or unconscious desires. What is the psychological function of blasphemy, inversion, and desecration? These acts may serve as a means of challenging conventional beliefs, expressing anger or resentment, or reclaiming agency over one's own identity. In some cases, the Black Mass can even be a transformative experience, offering participants a chance to confront their shadow selves, explore their repressed desires, and redefine their relationship with authority and tradition. For example, a person who has felt powerless in their life might participate in a Black Mass to reclaim a sense of agency and control, even if only within the context of the ritual. Are there unseen psychological chains holding people back? Psychological interpretations are not definitive. Other factors, such as social, cultural, religious, and political influences, also play a significant role in shaping individual behavior and belief systems. The meanings and motivations associated with the Black Mass may have varied across time and place, influenced by the prevailing social and cultural norms of the era. Not all participants in the Black Mass share the same psychological profile. Individual motivations may range from genuine spiritual seeking to simple curiosity or a desire to shock and offend. And what of those individuals drawn to the Black Mass for reasons that are not primarily psychological, such as a desire for social connection, a sense of belonging, or a shared political agenda? Despite the complexities and nuances, understanding the psychological dimensions of the Black Mass provides valuable insights into the human psyche, the dynamics of power and rebellion, and the enduring allure of the dark side. The key psychological motivations associated with the ritual revolve around repressed desires, unconscious conflicts, and the search for meaning and self-expression. The Black Mass connects to broader themes of human agency, moral responsibility, and the ongoing struggle to reconcile the light and shadow within ourselves. Studying the Black Mass can offer a unique perspective on human nature, challenging us to confront our own fears, desires, and beliefs about good and evil. How can studying what is socially considered as darkness help us understand ourselves? The Black Mass ultimately reflects the complexities of human nature. It is a cultural expression born of human anxieties. It is a mirror reflecting the enduring power of darkness and taboo, both within ourselves and in society. This exploration of the psychological depths of the Black Mass provides a unique lens through which to examine the human condition. So, what does the Black Mass ultimately reveal about the human condition, and how does it reflect our deepest fears and desires about the nature of good and evil? What does the future hold for these dark practices, and are we prepared to confront the shadows they reveal? In conclusion, our exploration of the Black Mass has taken us through the hidden corridors of history, psychology, ethics, and the darkest corners of human desire, revealing a complex and often unsettling tapestry of human belief and behavior. It is a journey that challenges our perceptions, questions our assumptions, and forces us to confront the shadows that lurk within ourselves and society. As we draw this exploration to a close, let's reflect on the key takeaways that have emerged along the way. We have seen the Black Mass evolve from medieval challenges to religious authority, a historical phenomenon rooted in rebellion and dissent. It is a ritual that has mirrored the anxieties and conflicts of its time, reflecting the power struggles between church and state, the tensions between faith and reason, and the ever-present allure of the forbidden. We have also witnessed its modern manifestations as expressions of rebellion, transgression, and individual spiritual quests, a testament to the enduring human desire for self-expression and autonomy. The Black Mass, in its various forms, represents a rejection of societal norms, a challenge to traditional values, and a quest for personal meaning in a world often perceived as chaotic and meaningless. It raises complex ethical and moral issues, forcing us to confront the delicate balance between freedom of expression and the potential for harm, between individual autonomy and the well-being of society. We've examined the psychological motivations of participants, driven by desires for power, forbidden knowledge, and self-expression, uncovering the deep-seated needs and desires that may lie beneath the surface. The black mass serves as a mirror, reflecting the complex interplay of conscious and unconscious forces that shape human behavior, revealing the hidden depths of the human psyche. The black mass, while diverse in its forms and motivations, ultimately reflects humanity's complex relationship with the sacred and the profane, a never-ending negotiation between the forces of order and chaos, good and evil, light and darkness. But the black mass is more than just a historical curiosity or a psychological phenomenon. It is a microcosm of humanity's fascination with the dark side, the allure of forbidden knowledge, and the eternal struggle between order and chaos. It is a reflection of our deepest fears and desires, our most profound anxieties and aspirations. It is a reminder that the line between the sacred and the profane is often blurred, and that the human spirit is capable of both the most sublime devotion and the most unsettling rebellion. The ritual's exploration of power dynamics, both spiritual and social, reflects our ongoing negotiation of authority and control, our constant questioning of who holds power, how it is wielded, and whether it is justified. It challenges us to examine our own relationship with power, to confront our own desires for control, and to question the legitimacy of those who claim authority over us. It links to humanity's ever-present need to define and redefine the boundaries of good and evil, a continuous process of moral discernment that shapes our individual lives and the collective destiny of our societies. The Black Mass, in its blasphemous inversions and sacrilegious parodies, forces us to confront our own moral assumptions, to question our own definitions of good and evil, and to recognize the inherent ambiguity of the human condition. Ultimately, what does the Black Mass reveal about our capacity for both profound reverence and shocking sacrilege, and how does it challenge us to confront the shadows within ourselves and society? As we conclude, let us remember that TMAS are no easy answers or simple judgments when it comes to understanding the Black Mass. It is a complex and often contradictory phenomenon that defies easy categorization. It requires us to approach it with a critical and open mind, to resist the temptation to demonize or dismiss it, and to instead seek to understand the diverse perspectives and motivations that drive its existence. It challenges us to think critically about our own beliefs and values, to question our own assumptions about good and evil, and to recognize the inherent complexity of the human condition. Perhaps the most important lesson is the need to approach such sensitive topics with empathy, understanding, and a willingness to engage in difficult conversations. The Black Mass, whether viewed as a historical curiosity, a modern transgression, or a psychological exploration, serves as a stark reminder that the line between the sacred and the profane is often blurred, and that the human spirit is capable of both the most sublime devotion and the most unsettling rebellion. And perhaps, as we continue to question our beliefs, the truth is somewhere in between. If you found this exploration of the Black Mass informative or thought-provoking, please give this video a like. Subscribe to the channel for more deep dives into esoteric topics, hidden histories, and the darker corners of human experience. Join our community of curious minds and share your own thoughts and perspectives on the Black Mass in the comments section below. We're eager to hear your insights. And stay tuned, because in our next video, we'll be delving into other forbidden rituals and examining the psychology of cults and charismatic leaders. Until next time, tread carefully in the shadows.